Hi, this video is about common SEO myths in 2019. Many of these have been around for quite some time and still seem to perpetuate themselves. In this video, I'm going to also talk about the huge SEO mistake that is constantly tripping people up and that can send people down years-long wasted paths. Hi, my name is David Hood, and I've made well over $1 million with SEO, and I know you can too. I'm on a mission to help at least 10,000 people make their first million online. So let's just jump right into it. So SEO is dying or dead. First of all, why does this happen? This happens because Google will make an update that might only affect like 1% of websites, but of those 1%, there's going to be a certain percentage, even if it's 1%, let's say 1% of 1%, where they have a significant decrease in their rankings and their traffic, and it dramatically affects their business. And for these people, they would probably, especially if they've invested a lot of time and energy and money into SEO, then they're going to be having very negative thoughts about SEO, right? They're obviously going to be like, SEO is dead, so this is where it comes from. I mean, even if you imagine 1% of 1%, that's still a huge amount of people. And this was a lot more common. I think when Google's Panda and Penguin came out, for the first couple of years after that, there was a lot more of the SEO is dead or dying, because Google's algorithm before then was super easy to gain. It was a joke. Even though it was still way better than the other search engines, it was still a joke compared to what it is today. It's much better today. It's much more difficult to gain. And so I think that there was a substantial shift in what techniques worked. The core fundamentals of Google's algorithm are still, there's not like a bunch of, I think I can count all the major changes on one hand that Google has really fundamentally changed their algorithm with. Most of the time it's been tweaks or adjusting the exact way in which they evaluate certain things. If we look at the Google search data, let me actually copy this in from another place. Because it is pretty astounding, and I think it pretty much shows, because the real question here is, well, if the real reason why SEO would die would be if people stop searching on the internet. That's really the only reason, because if Google changed their algorithm, that just means that there's another way that maybe you have to go about it. But if you look at the trend, 3.3 billion searches per day on Google in 2012, 7.7 and 2 trillion. So you're looking at, this is about, let's see, let's just do like 20. It's about a 6x increase over 6 years. So people are still searching on the internet, even if this was flat, even if this was 3.3 billion straight up. I still think that you couldn't make the argument that search engines were going away. Searching on the internet for information is now basically like a utility. It's so incredibly valuable to society that it's going to be around in one way or another forever. Basically, for all practical purposes, it's going to be around forever. Think about like plumbing or electricity, the basic utilities you take for granted. That once they became ubiquitous, it's pretty much just going to be there. You think the plumbing is not going to be useful anymore? Are people going to stop having to use the restroom? Electricity, no, that's still going to be around. I mean, unless there's like some major like Armageddon type upheaval in society, searching the internet is going to still be around. So the fact that if anybody says SEO is dead or dying, I would stop listening to them. About SEO and everything else in general. Okay, here's the biggest one. Here's the one that I think trips up a lot of people, because part of the reason is that there is a grain of truth to this. Content marketing, so the myth is content marketing is SEO. I've seen this perpetuated a lot, especially among content marketers, and so that's part of the reason why this is such a big one and why it still sticks around today. You have a lot of people blogging about SEO who have never actually ranked a website, and at least not by themselves. And so what they know and what they've been told is content marketing is SEO. And what Google kind of tries to get out there is that content marketing is SEO. Now, content marketing can be valuable, but it is definitely not SEO. And there's some circumstances where you could spend hundreds of thousands of hours and years of your life trying to do content marketing and get nowhere. Okay, and so it also misses some of the point of some of the question. It's sort of like approaching the problem from the wrong angle. There's several of the or from only one of several angles that you need to take. And you know, there's other things that need to be done. So you can just like create content, but also if you are you doing market research? So if you don't do market research, but you just go out and create content that you think is cool, you know, you could do that again until you're blue in the face. But if you didn't do market research, well, you know, maybe some people say, well, then you're not doing good content marketing. Well, it's still, you know, even with market research, it depends. Okay, so content marketing can help a lot. It helps in sort of a roundabout way. I wouldn't say content marketing is like a critical piece of SEO. At the same time, it is a way to get sort of like kind of natural links. If you know, you get your word out there and enough people see it, eventually you're gonna have people who are popular enough or have their own website and they're gonna link back to it. But I mean, in terms of this being like being the only plan that you should have for all SEO projects, I think that's a terrible idea. For some businesses, it's going to be a huge waste of time. And it really depends heavily on the niche that you're in. So, for example, like local business blogging, it's just a huge waste of time for the vast majority of local businesses. Imagine a plumber trying to blog for rankings. That's not going to work. They could blog every day for 2 years straight, and it's probably not going to get them to be ranked. I'd say it's maybe a 1% chance. Just for all practical purposes, nothing. Okay. Now, on the other hand, there are some niches where this is really important. So, especially niches that are highly visual, like let's say style or fashion type things. So, women's shoes. I talk about women's shoes. I don't know. It's just sort of like a random thing. Find your biggest keyword. Let's say you want to rank for women's shoes and try to get womensshoes.com. I still think that you should put some branding in your domain name. Are going to be the titles and URLs of your pages. And here's one of my websites. It is. But at the same time, sometimes you can just see. So, for example, if we just did like women's shoes. Okay, we can just know. Or a lot of the markets that are kind of female-oriented tend to be very visually oriented. Anything that's like a product, like health sometimes, can be very content marketing. Anything that's very social can also be very good for content marketing, but there's just, you know, there's tons of local businesses out there to where if they go and they read somebody, a content marketing is SEO, they think, and I get this all the time, they think that, oh, well, you know, we should be blogging, and they put a lot of resources into it, and it's not giving them much value. So this is a really big one that can definitely trip you up. Okay, here's another big one, and I don't think it's really so much in the forefront of people's minds as it is kind of like interlaced in a lot of the stuff that's out there. It's that Google's algorithm is like a pie chart. They think that it's, you know, whatever percent this, and there's like, let's say there's 10 or 20 things, or I think there's a list out there, there's like 187, I don't know the exact number, official ranking metrics. And that's just a completely missing what it's really like. To be more precise, first of all, not all these are going to be equal. So yeah, they have pie chart levels, but it's more like there's like a decision tree. Okay, now this is a really simple decision tree, and so, you know, Google's algorithm is going to be much more complex. But there's going to be certain thresholds where, let's say, at this point you go on the, you know, let's say when you first create a site, you're going on this part of the algorithm. Well, when you get to a certain point or have a certain threshold in some metric or set of metrics, maybe you go on this side of the threshold, this side of the algorithm, and it's actually, let's say it's nicer or it's better. I guess this is lost. So let's say this is worse and this is better from, you know, a ranking standpoint. Maybe on this side they check certain things and on this side they don't check those things, or vice versa. Okay, if you think about how like a computer algorithm works, it's a bunch of little decision trees. If this, then that, else this. So it's sort of like a fork on the road. Imagine like a bunch of forks on the road. That's kind of what this is like. That's more accurate. And I would say if there is some sort of pie chart action, it would be at specific steps. So it would be at this step, it would be like, all right, we're going to check these 7 things, and if this, then that, if else this, something like that. Okay. So, but to think, oh, well, it's X% this, and it's just completely inaccurate. Okay. This is a wonderful movie that I've never seen, called Duplicity.
1, 2, 3. Tough.
So here's another one. Duplicate content, how Google treats it is not very well understood, despite the fact that they've been consistent about this for probably since, I want to say, about 2012. Duplicate content is not all bad. Google doesn't hate duplicate content. There's a lot of conditions where duplicate content is totally fine. What Google really doesn't want is for a single search result, they don't want to serve up the same content to their searchers. So if you imagine, let's say we put the same piece of content on 10 different pages and they're all targeted the same search phrase, and the searcher searched that search phrase and they got all 10 of those results. That would be a very bad user experience. So what Google has done is they basically, of those 10 pages, they'll pick one that they think is the most authoritative or the most relevant. Or maybe if they saw, if one of them was up first and the other 9 were copied 3 years later, maybe they'll put that one up, the one that's up first. Not always guaranteed. And they'll pick that one and they'll ignore the rest. So that one of those will show up in the search results potentially, and then the rest will either be way back or just not at all for that search phrase. They'll just be gone. And so this is what Google really doesn't want. It's not so much that they're penalizing that site. While there can be certain kind of manipulative duplicate content things that you can do that Google can penalize, it is much less likely than them just kind of filtering you. There are some really acceptable conditions. If you imagine like a franchise that has 50 locations, let's say they do carpet cleaning and they have 50 locations, and carpet cleaning in every location is exactly the same. There's no reason to make all that content unique. You can have the same content on 50 different location pages and maybe just change like the location information up, and Google's not going to penalize that. Absolutely not. And it's not just, I think this is like a subset of this is a really easy and obvious example of what they are willing to do. But also, if you think about, it doesn't have to be local markets. Local markets are really obvious, but there's other markets where, again, if there's two things that are very similar but still different, you can kind of recycle a lot of your content. Another way to really avoid this would be videos. Videos are the most engaging form of content. Anytime you can click and be engaged or informed for an extended period of time, you're going to spend more time. Google owns YouTube. YouTube is actually the second biggest search engine in the world, so it's kind of a whole other topic. But this is a big myth that can kind of stop people from, create a lot of extra work for people. So that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you're still here watching me. Please also subscribe to get more videos. And if you have any questions or if you think I'm wrong about something, please let me know below in the comments. I will respond. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.